It's Vesak, commemorating the birth, enlightenment, and death of Lord Buddha. Vesak first appeared in the Mahavansa. While under British rule, Sir Henry Steele Olcott petitioned for Vesak to be made an official holiday, basically the Buddhist version of Christmas. And thus began the colourful pandal projections and the beautiful and creative Vesak lanterns that light up our homes, our streets, and of course our lives. Welcome to Kaleidoscope, where we are positive, daring, different, and wishing you a peaceful Vesak. Award-winning author Sebastian Faulks is on our show today, and we also discuss the future of mobility and locally inspired art. Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us if you want to know more about us. A major thank you to our amazing partners, Srilanka Life, CDB, and The Daily Morning. You know, you're awesome.
CDB Hybrid Leasing. Enjoy exclusive interest rate and much more for hybrids, plug-in hybrids and EV vehicles.
Looking back at the week that was on CDB Snapshot. Sri Lanka's exports increased 1.25% to $1.11 billion in April. Browns becomes the world leading tea exporter after striking a deal with Lipton. Elon Musk is set to visit Sri Lanka this year to launch his Starlink satellite internet service. Lankan athlete Samitha Dulan sets a new world record in men's javelin throw F44 event at the 2024 Kobe Para Athletics World Championships. After 200 years, the Sri Lankan golden bat frog is rediscovered in a wildlife sanctuary in India. For the first time ever, a 60-year-old woman wins the Miss Universe Buenos Aires beauty pageant. A butcher from Bedfordshire makes 83 sausages in 60 seconds and breaks the world record.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
Welcome to Srilanka Life News Capsule. You've booked one, you've travelled in one, and you've probably cancelled one too. Ubers are everywhere, and nobody can deny that they've made travel that much easier, especially in this country which has the highest road density in South Asia. After it first appeared in Sri Lanka in 2015, Uber has taken over Sri Lanka's city streets, and I invited Sri Lanka country manager Kaushalya Gunaratna to shed more light about the future of mobility. Uber revolutionized mobility all over the world, but Sri Lanka, it's a culture that we love to own our cars, and we don't want to work on that concept. Now, what was the response like in Sri Lanka?
Owning a car is also not very easy and not cheap. And during the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen how car maintenance, the unit economics of owning a car has maybe doubled or maybe even 3 times. So the country has understood how the gig economy works and how having shared resources enables us to commute better.
So what paradigms are you seeing is different in Sri Lanka compared to other countries in this region?
Some of the affordable products have started booming in Sri Lanka. Be it your tuk, even moto. I don't think we've ever had the option of getting onto a motorcycle and commuting. But because of the inflation that the country has gone through, but we Sri Lankans are very agile and we adopt into even the system. So we've seen some of these products actually booming even within South Asia.
What are the demands, the asks of passengers in Sri Lanka?
Having an option, different options, right? Maybe they would prefer one option in terms of going to work versus going to the market. So having that assortment of options which caters towards the need.
What trends are actually driving mobility these days?
sustainability and having products, having options which are sustainable is something that even from a global regulatory body, even as Uber, we by 2040 we want to be zero carbon emission. So having options which are environmental friendly. So fun fact is, do you know that almost 20% or more than 20% of our cars are either hybrid or electric cars. So we as a country have also understood the fact of being sustainable.
And now for a quick look at our markets this week. At the Colombo Stock Exchange, the all-share price index was still near one-year highs, although average daily turnover levels dropped to 1 billion rupees towards the end of the shortened work week. The US Department of Energy says crude oil inventories in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve are now at 368 million barrels, the highest since last April, which led to oil prices going below $85 per barrel this week. Gold prices continue climbing steadily, reaching record all-time highs of above $2,400 per ounce. Sri Lankan women have been making great headlines. Two of Kaleidoscope's previous guests, award-winning young actress Dinara Punchiheva, has been listed in the Forbes 30 Under 30 list, and President of the Little People Association Darshini Nanekara was awarded the Mother Teresa Peace Award. And in the UK, Kishani Vaidyaratna added to Sri Lanka's literary prowess by winning the Editor of the Year accolade at the British Book Awards this year. Do you ever wish there was an award for the best sleeper? Well, a sleep competition was held in Seoul this month to help citizens relax by taking a nap outdoors. Nobody writes a historical novel like he does. Sebastian Faulks is a bona fide genius of literature, and he was at the Galle Literary Festival this year. He's the author of The Girl at the Lion Door, Birdsong, Charlotte Gray, and of course numerous other titles. His most recent is The Seventh Son. He even wrote a James Bond continuation, Devil May Care, and a continuation of the Wodehouse Jeeves series, Jeeves and the Wedding Bells. Sebastian was at one point a journalist and worked at The Independent, The Daily Telegraph and The Sunday Telegraph. He's also regularly on BBC's Radio 4's The Right Stuff, Literary Quiz and a host of other things. He's been to Sri Lanka several times already, first in 1981 to play cricket. He's a literary superstar and he's here on Let's Talk today. So you were first here in 1981 to play cricket.
That's correct.
How has Sri Lanka changed since then?
Between 1981 and now, obviously the country's been through an extremely turbulent and difficult time, which is not really reflected in, as a tourist, as a visitor, your day-to-day experience. Though there was a time about 6 years ago when I was here for a festival and we went up to Jaffna in the north, which was still very clearly suffering from the aftermath of war. But I must say, down here in Galle, the world seems completely unchanged. The boats, the sea, the fish, the people, the lovely weather, so I'm enjoying it.
I love the way you brought in the sea, the fish, the people. You obviously love fish.
Well, I should have put the people first, really, shouldn't I?
Okay. So how did cricket transcend into writing?
Well, I was never a professional cricketer. I was only an amateur club cricketer. And it's a game which meant a great deal to me as a child. And then I played, and I only gave up about 2 years ago when my eyesight became too bad. But I think cricket is, well, it is a great game. I mean, it's the most intellectual physical game, so it's the physical equivalent of chess, really. To me, it has been a way of contemplating the shortness of life and the unfairness of life and the brevity of life. But it's also been a way of examining characters, and above all it's been a source of enormous friendship and great humour. And you come to the other side of the world, to India or Sri Lanka, and you find you have in common with people something that you might not otherwise have in common. The only problem with coming to India and Sri Lanka is that the players are very good, and so we never seem to win any games.
So what did you have to keep in mind when writing the continuations like you did for the James Bond series as well as the Woodhouse series, Jeeves?
The James Bond book was a very surprising commission because I don't write thrillers and I don't read thrillers. So I was very surprised to be asked. But I spoke to the Fleming family quite a lot and they were very encouraging. So I said, well, I will write an outline and see what you think. And I said, but it has to be set back in the 60s. I don't want to write it in the modern day. And they said, that's fine. And so we sort of went through it together and I would do a little chapter and show it to them. And they'd say, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. But to me, the big challenge of that was to create a complicated plot, because my own books don't have much in the way of plot. They're more about people's lives as they change, as they get older. There are no guns and villains and double crossing and car chases. So all that world was completely unfamiliar to me. So that was the challenge. And the challenge with the P.G. Woodhouse book was more to do with the style, because Ian Fleming's style is not very hard to imitate, but P.G. Woodhouse's style is very hard to imitate because it is so fragile and so light and so complicated. Well, just because it's comic about a ridiculous world that never existed, it doesn't mean to say that it's easy. So that was a different challenge, to hear the music in my voice, in my head, and to reproduce his rhythms and his wit.
What do you think of e-books? Are they eventually going to replace the much-loved paper?
It doesn't seem so, no. They seem to sit alongside quite well. I mean, I don't use them much. Unless I'm traveling somewhere, then you can get 10 books on your little device. But people's predictions of all these things are wrong. People always said the hardback book would disappear and it would be straight away paperback. But in the United States, it's the paperback which has disappeared. So you have hardback and ebook, and sometimes they will do a paperback and sometimes they won't. So it's impossible to predict, but it seems to me at the moment that ebooks sit quite happily alongside paper books.
Have you ever had plots gone wrong or things going wrong while you've been in the writing process?
Not since the early days. I mean, before I was published, I wrote 2 or 3 books which I gave up halfway through. I didn't know where they were going and I hadn't sufficiently planned them. But writing a novel, a serious novel of 300 pages, is a big effort, intellectually, emotionally, and almost physically. Especially if you have a lot of research, it takes a lot of commitment, and I won't embark on it unless I'm fairly sure I know where I'm going. Every book is different, but I wouldn't really get beyond 10,000 words unless I was really certain I knew what I was doing.
What is your favorite novel?
I would probably say Human Traces, because it was the longest and most serious and took everything out of me. But Birdsong, which is my most famous book, some people think you must think that your big hit is sort of like a millstone around your neck. I don't think of it like that. I think of it like the locomotive that pulls the train. So I'm happy with that. And my new book, The Seventh Son, everyone will love that.
It was her teeny tiny canvases that I found most fascinating when I stumbled across this abstract artist at Kalapola. Priyadarshini Thenakon is an entrepreneur and contemporary abstract artist who started off her business in 2008 with handmade greeting cards and then moved on to found Anuhasa Creations, putting her creative eye to good use.
ආටිස්ට් කෙනෙක් විදිහට මගේ ජීවිතේ ලොකු වෙනසක් ඇති වුණේ කලාපොලෙන්. මම මුලින්ම කලාපොලට සහභාගී වුණේ 2010 වසරේදී. මා මෙතනට යොමු කරේ සීතාලි සිල්වා මහත්මිය.
Priyadarshini has widened her artistic horizons, participating in workshops in India and also participating at Kalapola specifically to showcase her works in Sri Lanka.
මගේ හැම ප්‍රොඩක්ට් එකක්ම ඩිසයින් කරන්නේත් ෆිනිෂ් වෙන්නේත් මගේ අතින්මයි. ඒ හැම ප්‍රොඩක්ට් එකකම ක්වොලිටි එක ගැන මම ගොඩාක් සැලකිලිමත් වෙනවා. ගුණාත්මක භාවයෙන් ඉහළ අමුද්‍රව්‍ය ලබා ගන්න මට විශ්වාසනීය සැපුම් කරුම් කණ්ඩායමක් ඉන්නවා. ඒගොල්ලන්ගෙන් තමයි මම නිතරම මට අවශ්‍ය කරන අමුද්‍රව්‍ය ලබා ගන්නේ.
Hoping to move from her medium of acrylics into oils, Priyadarshini has some plans afoot for the future.
මගේ පළවෙනිම ආර්ට් එක්සිබිෂන් එක කරන්න මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම මගේ ප්‍රොඩක්ට්ස් ඉන්ටර්නැෂනල් මාකට් එකට ඉන්ට්‍රොඩියුස් කරන්න වැඩ කටයුතු කරගෙන යනවා.
Wishing you a peaceful Vesak. We will see you next week.